It has been a weird couple of days, but as 2020 has been up to this point, it is becoming clearer in every aspect. Therefore, it's becoming weirder because everything is revealed. Now, this video will be heavily centered on the pyramid because okay, I'll just say this. This is still a partial response video, or if I say this was inspired by my friend's video, and so the stuff that I talk about will be things that he mentioned, but this is more than that. This is a it's like in the Amazon. Amazon Indians used to have this tradition where they would consume some kind of substance, and the goal for that was to achieve um, a kind of unity in dream time, where people, in whatever their visions, it would mean that their visions, they would be seeing the same thing, that they would that would be the goal of the ceremony, not just to say, hey, we're have fun. No, usually these ceremonies had a goal, and sometimes, especially in times of desperate need, such quite similar to what we're having now, economic collapse, need for migration because of war, uh, so on and so forth, pandemic, disease, all these things that goes with war, strife, disturbance. And one way to do this was to consolidate their visions, because the people there, the Indians in Amazon, and they're not the only ones to do that. In Australia, the indigenous people did this too, and in many other areas, I would say, where the concept of dream time is taken to be a valid source of inspiration and information, knowledge as to what to do in this world, physical world. So this is sort of my attempt at that. I am giving what I can. I have been hiding because, in a way, I thought there was something better to hide and wait for. But now I realize that is, uh, we're in a situation where we really need to pull together each other. This is all we have to find out what to do. So, anyway. The first thing I'm going to talk about is an equation that he was putting up. He was banding around different numerology, and there was a problem. The problem was that 5 plus 1 equaled 6, but as well, 5 times 1 equaled 6. Now, plus and times are in fact the same symbol, just turned at exactly 45 degrees. Now, what does this mean? If 5 plus 1 and 5 times 1 equal the same thing, it would mean that the symbols have become to be used in the same sense. Now, how could it be that plus and x are the same? Well, first, there is something I would share with you guys, which is modern Chinese is to be read with a upside and a downside, but traditional Chinese did not. Traditional Chinese, I'm talking about, not this age, at least 2,000 years ago. When you go into the oracle bones scripts, the way of reading the actual word is not limited to one direction. You know what I'm saying? So like if it's upside down or tilted 90 degree or 270 or actually whichever direction in the circle, it's to be read as the same symbol, which is why symbols from that time were specifically designed to be legible within, within that spatial circle. So anyway, so how do I say this? The point would be that some ancient sage looking at these two symbols would say, obviously they're the same. Obviously they're the same. Obviously they're the same. And obviously they're the same because it didn't matter. That was one. But that's actually quite important to say because in a way that is the natural way, probably. I mean, I don't have this myself, but I could understand that when we thought at a higher level, we could we would prefer to see things from different sides. Think about it. It's all about a kind of, in that way, there is no problem of perspective because you're not inside a hall of mirror at that point. You're not inside anymore. You are in, but the sides have disappeared in that sense. But anyway, that's one. But there's something that I was thinking personally, because the pyramid, the Great Pyramid at Giza, has 8 sides, not 4, as they did studies, and they realized that in each of the 4 sides, they're actually divided right in the middle. Not exactly even the middle, because they're not even built as 4 sides. They just look like that. They look like they have 4 sides, but if you go closer, or if you actually kind of understand the way it's built, you realize it's 8 sides, but just the angles match up so that it looks like 4, because I mean you could also kind of turn it a bit more so that you could actually see the 8 sides, and it's possible that they did, but this is not to go into this. That would be way too much of a new topic. But meaning, in a way, the cross and the X represents like 2 sets of different cardinal points, or 2 sets of different fours or quadrants. It's just 45 degree this way. But you kind of understand what I'm trying to say, that they're superimposed on top of each other. Like, actually, now I'll share something interesting that I didn't actually think about before I started to make this video, but now I realize I should. This symbol itself, this is this superimposed on this, and this is a very, very important symbol in Chinese. This means grain of rice, but grain, like grain of anything. Like the unit. It's sort of to symbolize atoms. Anyway, the point trying to say the 8 sides, to just kind of get everybody used to this idea that I'm talking about this, is to say that you gotta get into the mindset of how these people use symbols to communicate. Because media, it's true, they show us, it's fun, it's propaganda, but media has another function, which is for the initiated to use symbols in the media to communicate with each other. They have been shown to have been doing this. There's loads of writers on this that I should probably pull up a whole video on this itself. But the plus, this and this 45-degree, for them to say this equals this is trying to say the 8 sides of the pyramids are all the same, or that the plan is in order. Like these would be interchangeable phrases in even ancient times. To these are like stand-ins for correctness. Like when we say like we would say, oh, do you want another piece of cake? And somebody would say, does the Pope wear a hat? It's that kind of stand in for obvious. It's a language thing. But if they're saying the 8 sides of the pyramids are the same, meaning whichever 4 sides of the pyramids that you take by, depending on the direction of your, like, if it's this or if it's this, but it's either these 4 or these 4. They're saying they're the same. There's only one situation in which this is absolutely true, is when the pyramid, for some weird reason, think about it, if they just imagine a pyramid under some kind of ability, it turns into like it starts turning, like it turns, and it turns so fast, like a machine or something, that you don't see its sides. It just start to become a circle, like in motion. This and this are the same, and only in motion would they be absolutely the same. I actually believe that's probably where the pi concept came from. It's to explain a kind of, what would be the word? Like it's the either the centrifugal or the centrifugal. I'm probably not using the right words, but you understand what I'm saying. The pull and the push from the center kind of force. So this is just a way for initiated people to say to each other that our plan for global domination, symbolized by the pyramids, is like, it's like on, like the motor is turned on, like it's running. That's my reading, because this is not the first time I have seen this kind of thing in my study of ancient Chinese stuff. Although it's not Chinese, but I fail to have a better word to describe this. Let's just say ancient culture, that they often do this. There's a whole concept of how criminals talk to each other. They use words, but they use codes, essentially. They use words as codes. And who would use codes the most? Besides secret service agencies, governments, the army. Code talking is an army profession. In World War I, World War II, in Vietnam War, code talkers, people who speak a kind of language that has a very small usage population, like Native Americans or Welsh speakers or certain Asian dialects. These people would be used as code talkers during a war to pass messages. because there's some systems where the electronic is not really want to be used or something like that, but they would be used to talk to each other, and they would use normal language. They would just say, turtle or a pen, but like a turtle would mean a tank, or a pen would mean, a rocket or something. I don't know. Depends on the code system. So now I'm not saying this is the interpretation. I'm just saying that this is something I want to bring to people's attention, that code talking is much of what you actually hear on the media. Much of what you hear that sounds like something that's just normal. It is very interesting. I probably should do that for people as an example. To take a news article and to read what they're actually saying. I know it's like I'm kind of do that on my free time, but I will do that on my free time. There's one last thing I want to say about the five, the numbers, which is the concept of five. Now, the concept of five exists in many cultures, but I actually just today, this morning, studied the Celtic five. The Celtic five is highly interesting. It's 4 circles, and the 5 is the circle that takes its center, the center of which the other 4 circles meet. So it's like on top. And that in like ancient Celtic language, I'm not exactly sure Scottish or like Gaelic, people don't throw things at me, but it was called mead or mid, literally the middle. But also our word for a Medes, Medes, a group of very powerful magicians that was coming out of the Middle East, and also where we get our word media. And also the Greek, when they talk, the character Medea, it's referring to one of them, their girls. Or actually, if you really read those Greek stuff properly, whenever they use one character to say one woman, they're usually talking about a tribe of women, or more so even a specific group of female shamans. This is maybe something I should just tell people too, because a lot of things I'm telling you is kind of to save time. For example, whenever they say family in like the Bible or whatever, it usually either means royal family or a specific group of shamans that they would call themselves family. That's how shamans are referred to in most people's ancient original language. And even the royal family are just shamans. They originate from shamans too. So that kind of tradition. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is the five here, we're talking about 5 in relation to 1. Now, 1, let's see 1 as the one that's been from the beginning. We're all in emanations of the 1. But 1 here also can mean just us. Like a wholesome person is 1, right? Like that's, what we say someone, you're the one. We're actually saying a compliment to them. You are wholesome. You are all that is, all that was, and all that will be. And but here 5. What is 5? 5 is usually the feminine. It's not necessarily feminine, scratch that. Forget that. But it's usually the fertile, the number of fertility, the number that governments, kings and queens, you usually used to embody. But also the 5 is sort of the middle. Or they're pretending that it's the middle. Because if you're really in the middle, this ties into something I said last time, that I think they stole this global system from the Druids. Because they're not helping people. They printed trillions of dollars this year and mostly just kept it for themselves. So that 5, that middle is instead of like facilitating the fertility of the one, is like sucking out of it. Which makes my last point. Actually, it might not be the last one, I should not say this. But 5 plus 1 equals 6. 5 times 1 equals 6. Now 6, the number of Virgo, is also supposed to be a fertile number, the cornucopia. Actually, I should probably make a whole video on this because this is very dear to me. That Virgo, divergent, does not mean a woman who has never, woman who does not have sex or never had sex. It means quite the opposite, actually. It means the pure being of a woman, or of like being of being, virgin. It means like fertility. It really means like the whole fertility of the universe. It's sort of the full expression of it, the kind of unrestrained, there's no shame in actual sort of Virgo-ness. This is a very, I don't want to say Christian, because it's not just Christian. It's the Confucianists, excuse me, in Asia did this too, and wherever Islam, it's wherever they sort of defiled or attack this kind of, or I'll not say attack, I just say this kind of thing was disturbed or something happened and then stopped. But Virgo, often we talk about Virgo's negative side being a kind of slavishness to service. That's not exactly what it is. But that's kind of related to what I just said, in the situation where the 5, where it's supposed to bring you fertility, instead it's choking you to death. That brings servitude, because Virgo is, it's like, corn is still growing, even though we've thrown nuclear bombs on this planet. That has not really stopped, but that process is like being choked, so that corn can only kind of grow, but not really. Do you see the difference in what I'm trying to say? It's still the same Virgo. It's just what condition of energy that 5 is that she stands on, right? The quintessence. Is it really a free-flowing, growing fertility? Or is it painted? Or is that light literally painted on like a billboard? Like foundation, like layers of makeup. That's the difference. Because the opposite side of life is not death. People get this confused a lot. Life and death are the same thing. Like, two hands, yes, but you need to have a left in order to have a right. You know what I'm saying? Like if there was a beginning, there is an end. There's a beginning, there's an end. Life starts, life ends. The ball comes down, up, it will go down. Actually, that's because of gravity. But same with life, actually. There's a sort of, well, it's where you give up your physical attachment, going to the further change. That's what death is. Death is not the end. That's absurd, because death is life. I think we really have to see it like this, which I know sounds mad, but new things can only grow when things that are supposed to have died has already died. Otherwise, it is pointless to give to expect it to grow, because how could it? The thing that the undead zombie thing is taking energy and polluting the soil as it is taking energy, because it's still dead, half dead. It's not half dead. See, you're either dead or you're not dead. You could be sick, you could be doing evil, but that's not death. Death is not evil. There's nothing evil about death. Don't be scared of death. Yeah, that's what I got for this. And this was really fun for me. I found about 5 new things as I was talking to you guys. So, okay, thanks for listening to me. And we really do need each other. This is not a joke. This is not just smoke signals, although it is. We really have to help each other. And we can. And we're the only ones who will. We're not. So, bye.